They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. These were the paranoid, delusional words former Sheriff Shawn "Mickey" Stines shouted before he walked into District Judge Kevin Mullins' courthouse chambers and shot him dead in cold blood. On September 19, 2024, in the small town of Whitesburg, Kentucky, the man sworn to uphold the law became a murderer, executing a respected judge inside his own courtroom in broad daylight. What drove a sheriff who'd worked alongside this judge for years to suddenly pull out his gun and fire multiple shots into a man he called a friend? The answer involves allegations of sexual misconduct, a mysterious phone call to the sheriff's daughter, claims of extreme psychosis, and a small town torn apart by a tragedy that no one saw coming. If you're new to The Only Witness, welcome to the channel where we expose the shocking confessions and crimes that America can't stop talking about. Before we dive into one of 2024's most bizarre and disturbing cases, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe with notifications on, and comment below where you're watching from. Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio. We want to hear from all 50 states because this case has shocked Appalachia and raised disturbing questions about what really happened in that courthouse. This is the story of Shawn "Mickey" Stines, the sheriff who snapped, and Kevin Mullins, the judge who died in his own chambers with no warning and no chance to defend himself. Letcher County, Kentucky is located deep in the Appalachian Mountains, a region known for tight-knit communities where everyone knows everyone. With a population of only about 22,000 people, Letcher County is the kind of place where the local sheriff and the district judge aren't just colleagues. They're friends who see each other daily, attend the same community events and trust each other implicitly. Shawn "Mickey" Stines was 43 years old and had been serving as Letcher County Sheriff. He was a familiar face in the community, known for his work in law enforcement and his dedication to keeping the county safe. By all accounts, Mickey was a respected member of the community, a family man with a wife and daughter, and someone who took his duties as sheriff seriously. District Judge Kevin Mullins was 54 years old and had been serving as a judge for Letcher County since 2009, when he was appointed by Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear. Before becoming a judge, Kevin had worked as an assistant Commonwealth attorney, and he was beloved in the legal community for his fairness, his dedication to justice, and his friendly demeanor. Kevin was married and was considered a pillar of the Whitesburg community. Mickey Stines and Kevin Mullins worked together regularly. As sheriff, Mickey would often appear in Kevin's courtroom for hearings and legal proceedings. They had a professional relationship that had lasted for years, and by all appearances, they got along well. But beneath the surface of this small-town friendship, something dark was brewing. In the days leading up to September 19, 2024, people who knew Mickey Stines noticed that something was wrong. Friends and colleagues later told investigators that Mickey seemed to be losing it. He was acting paranoid, agitated, and unlike himself. He made strange comments about people being after him and his family, and he seemed to be experiencing extreme stress and anxiety. What was causing Mickey's mental deterioration remains unclear, but what happened on September 19th suggests that he had reached a breaking point. On the morning of September 19th, 2024, Mickey Stines went to the Letcher County Courthouse in Whitesburg for what should have been a routine day. But nothing about this day would be routine. According to court documents and witness testimony, at some point that morning, Mickey asked to use Judge Mullins' phone. This detail would later become crucial to understanding what triggered the shooting. Mickey called his daughter from Judge Mullins' phone. Why he used the judge's phone instead of his own remains unclear, but something about that phone call, or something he discovered related to that phone call, sent Mickey into a rage. Witnesses report that Mickey and Kevin got into an argument after the phone call. The exact content of the argument has not been made fully public, but it was heated enough that it escalated rapidly. And then Mickey Stines pulled out his gun. Kevin Mullins was sitting in his chambers when Mickey opened fire. Mickey shot Kevin multiple times, the gunshots echoing through the courthouse and sending everyone inside into a panic. Kevin Mullins died at the scene. He was 54 years old, a dedicated judge, a husband, and a member of the community who had dedicated his life to serving justice. He died in his own courthouse, shot by the sheriff who was supposed to protect him. Mickey Stines didn't run. He didn't try to escape. He simply walked out of the judge's chambers and surrendered to authorities at the courthouse. He was arrested immediately and charged with murder. The shooting shocked Letcher County to its core. How could the sheriff murder the judge? These were men who worked together, who were part of the same community, who were supposed to represent law and order. What could possibly drive Mickey to commit such a horrific act? Before we explore the theories about Mickey's motive and the disturbing allegations that emerged after the shooting, make sure you're subscribed to The Only Witness and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. This case gets even more twisted from here. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, investigators were baffled by Mickey's motive. The Kentucky State Police launched an investigation to determine why a sheriff would murder a judge in cold blood. Mickey's preliminary hearing in October 2024 revealed some shocking details. Detective Clayton Stamper, who was leading the investigation, testified about Mickey's behavior and statements after the shooting. According to Detective Stamper, Mickey claimed that they are trying to kidnap my wife and kid. This statement suggested that Mickey was experiencing paranoid delusions and believed that some unidentified group was targeting his family. Mickey's defense attorneys later released a mental health evaluation that painted a disturbing picture of his mental state at the time of the shooting. According to the evaluation, Mickey was experiencing active psychosis and was unaware of his surroundings in the days following the shooting. The report stated that Mickey was only aware of things jail staff told him and appeared to be in an altered mental state. Friends and colleagues confirmed that, in the days before the shooting, Mickey had been acting strangely, making paranoid statements, and seemed to be unraveling mentally. But no one had anticipated that his mental health crisis would result in violence. The defense team argued that Mickey was experiencing an extreme emotional disturbance at the time of the shooting, and that he acted in the heat of passion rather than with premeditation. They suggested that whatever happened in that phone call with his daughter or in the argument with Judge Mullins triggered a psychotic break that led to the shooting. But the prosecution had a different theory about Mickey's motive, one that was far more disturbing and controversial. In the months following the shooting, explosive allegations emerged about Judge Kevin Mullins that suggested a possible motive for why Mickey had killed him. According to court documents and media reports, accusations surfaced claiming that Judge Mullins had been involved in a sexual favors scheme. The allegations suggested that Judge Mullins had been trading influence and favorable court decisions for sexual favors, and that this scheme may have involved Mickey Stines' daughter. These allegations have not been proven in court, and Kevin Mullins is not alive to defend himself against them. But the claims raised the disturbing possibility that Mickey had discovered something about his daughter's involvement with Judge Mullins, which triggered his violent rage. The phone call Mickey made to his daughter from Judge Mullins' phone may have been the moment Mickey discovered evidence of this alleged relationship. Some speculate that Mickey saw something on the judge's phone, messages, photos, or call records that revealed an inappropriate relationship between the judge and his daughter. If this theory is true, it would explain Mickey's sudden violent outburst. A father discovering that a man he trusted, a judge, a pillar of the community, someone with power and authority, had been sexually involved with his daughter could trigger an extreme emotional reaction, especially in someone already experiencing mental health issues. However, it's important to note that these allegations against Judge Mullins remain unproven, and some in the community have defended his character and reputation. The truth about what really happened between Mickey, Kevin, and Mickey's daughter may never be fully known. What is known is that on September 19, 2024, Mickey Stines made the decision to kill Kevin Mullins, and that decision has destroyed multiple lives and torn apart a small community. Drop a comment right now telling us where you're watching from and what you think Mickey's motive was. Was it a psychotic break? Was it revenge for something involving his daughter? Should mental illness be a defense for murder? We want to hear from viewers in all 50 states. Shawn "Mickey" Stines was officially charged with first-degree murder in the death of Judge Kevin Mullins. He pleaded not guilty, and his defense team has been building a case based on his mental health crisis and extreme emotional disturbance at the time of the shooting. The defense argues that Mickey did not plan to kill Judge Mullins and that the shooting was the result of a psychotic episode triggered by whatever he discovered that day. They claim that Mickey was not in control of his actions and that he was experiencing delusions that made him believe his family was in danger. The prosecution argues that regardless of Mickey's mental state, he made the conscious choice to bring a gun to the courthouse, to use that gun on Judge Mullins, and that he should be held fully accountable for murder. As of October 2025, Mickey remains in custody awaiting trial. His defense team has requested that new surveillance footage from the courthouse be considered, claiming it could help explain Mickey's actions and support their theory of extreme emotional disturbance. The trial is expected to be one of the most closely watched cases in Kentucky history, as it will determine whether a sheriff's mental health crisis and possible discovery of sexual misconduct can justify or mitigate the murder of a sitting judge. For the Mullins family, no explanation will ever bring Kevin back or make sense of his senseless death. Kevin's widow and family have had to endure not only the grief of losing him, but also the public airing of unproven allegations about his conduct. Whether those allegations are true or false, the Mullins family is left to mourn a man who was killed without warning and never had the chance to defend himself. For Mickey's family, the tragedy is equally profound. Mickey's wife and daughter have lost their husband and father, who will likely spend the rest of his life in prison. If the allegations about Judge Mullins are true, Mickey's daughter may have been victimized by a man in power, and her father's attempt to protect her resulted in him becoming a murderer. For the community of Whitesburg and Letcher County, the shooting has shattered their sense of safety and trust. How can a community trust its legal system when the sheriff murders the judge? The very institutions that are supposed to represent law, order, and justice have been tainted by violence and allegations of corruption. The case has also sparked broader conversations about several important issues: mental health in law enforcement. Mickey's apparent mental health crisis in the days before the shooting raises questions about how law enforcement agencies monitor and support the mental health of their officers. Should there be mandatory mental health screenings? Should there be intervention programs for officers showing signs of distress? Sexual misconduct by judges. The allegations against Judge Mullins, whether true or not, highlight the vulnerability of people who interact with the court system. Judges have enormous power over people's lives, and any abuse of that power for sexual purposes is a violation of trust that can have devastating consequences. Vigilante justice. If Mickey did kill Judge Mullins over something involving his daughter, does that make his actions more understandable, even if they're still illegal? When can a father's protective instincts be considered a mitigating factor in a murder case? Small-town justice. In a tight-knit community like Letcher County, how do you ensure a fair trial when everyone knows everyone and the case has torn the community apart? Make sure you've hit that like button and subscribe to The Only Witness. Drop one final comment telling us where you're watching from and what you think should happen to Mickey Stines. Is he a murderer who deserves life in prison, or a father who snapped after discovering something horrific? Let us know. As we close out this shocking story of a sheriff who became a killer, it's important to remember that this case is still ongoing. Mickey Stines hasn't been convicted yet. He's presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The trial will determine whether he was a cold-blooded murderer or a man who experienced a mental break that led to tragedy. But regardless of the outcome, several facts remain undeniable. Kevin Mullins is dead, shot multiple times in his own courthouse chambers. His family has lost a husband, father, and provider. His community has lost a judge who served for 15 years. Whether he was a good man wrongly accused or someone who abused his power, he's gone, and his death cannot be undone. Mickey Stines threw away his career, his freedom, and his family by pulling that trigger. Whether he was justified in his mind or experiencing psychosis, he made the choice to use deadly force, and that choice will define the rest of his life. A small Appalachian community has been torn apart by violence, allegations, and betrayal. The institutions that held the community together, law enforcement and the courts, have been shattered by the very people who were supposed to uphold them. And somewhere in all of this is Mickey's daughter, whose life has been irrevocably changed by whatever happened between her, her father, and Judge Mullins. Whether she was a victim of abuse, whether her father was protecting her, or whether the whole situation was a tragic misunderstanding, she has to live with the consequences of that September day for the rest of her life. The trial of Shawn Mickey Stines will hopefully provide answers to some of the questions that have haunted this case since that fateful day in September 2024. But some questions may never be fully answered, and some wounds may never fully heal. Thank you for watching this episode of The Only Witness, covering one of 2024's most shocking and bizarre cases. If this story moved you, please share it with your true crime community. Don't forget to comment your state one more time before you go. Until next time, this is The Only Witness, reminding you that sometimes the people sworn to protect us become the ones we need protection from. Stay safe out there, and remember that mental health matters. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help before tragedy strikes. Rest in peace, Judge Kevin Mullins. Whatever the truth about your life, you didn't deserve to die like that. This is The Only Witness, signing off.